Hey, and welcome to another segment of my 31 Days of Horror 2015 Toronto After Dark edition. We are going to be talking today about the film Gridlocked, which played as the second film on October 20th. And unfortunately, it doesn't qualify. It doesn't qualify for my 31 Days of Horror, but because it is something that I watched at the Toronto After Dark Film Festival, and it is doing a festival run, and, essentially just came out. It's something I'm going to cover just to let you know about the film itself. The reason why it doesn't qualify is it's an action film. It's a straight up action film. It's not a horror film whatsoever. So, that being said, it doesn't qualify. I will preface this review by saying I do know people involved in the making of the film, specifically the cinematographer Michael Lane, or not the cinematographer, the editor Michael Lane is a guy, and I was actually talking to him. He had shown up to the festival day before, a couple days. Well, he's probably there a few days, but we're talking to him, and he asked if we were going to be, obviously coming to his film that he was involved in. And of course we were. I was going to be there anyways, but so yeah, I talked to him about that, and so I will start off by saying one of the reasons why Gridlocked actually works is because of the editing of Michael Lane and director Alan Unger. They just happened to make this film work despite the flaws. Honestly, if you had bad editing in this film, it would have fallen apart completely. But thanks to the editing of the story from Michael, and apparently the director Alan Unger also helped direct, especially the fight sequences, because it's all up in his head, and it helps to put that together. So it really works. Now the film is kind of like an Assault on Precinct 13 type film. Meets, what would you call it? What was that? Is it Cop Out? Is it Cop Out? I think. A film where there's a movie star. No, it's not Cop Out. Cop Out was the Bruce Willis one. Crap. There's a movie out there about a movie star who hooks up with a cop and has to shadow him. If you remember what it is, post it down below, because I'm drawing a blank at the moment. But it's sort of a mix between Precinct 13 and that movie, in the sense that this washed up movie star, well, not washed up, but this movie star who's gotten in trouble with the law has been, made a deal where he will shadow a police officer for a certain amount of time as his community service. And the police officer he happens to be shadowing is a former leader of a secret SWAT team, not a secret, but a special forces SWAT team, who also got into some problems and trouble and was sort of demoted to regular detective work. So he's following him on that. And what ends up happening is he decides, I'm going to take this punk, young punk, to my old friends and show him, what exactly, I'm all about type thing, and show him just how good I am. Maybe a little bit bragging, maybe a little bit he just wanted to see his old friends, his old team again. And they get to the secret training facility that these guys work out of, and find out that most of the teams are out because there's some big international event going on in the city, and so they're all covering that. So essentially there's only his team, oddly enough, still in the at the headquarters, their headquarters, right? It's a Canadian film, and it's really low budget for what they were trying to make, and honestly nobody thought they could do it and pull it off, and yet They do. They manage to get name actors. They get crazy amounts of gunfire, explosions, all that kind of stuff going. And though the story is a little weak, I mean, you gotta work it in with whatever budget you have and sort of cram it in there and try and make it work. It has a little bit of a Die Hardish type feel to a certain elements. I mean, obviously, Alan Unger, the director Alan Unger, manages to pull it off. Now, Alan Unger isn't exactly an experienced director or anything like that. He was a writer on this picture, but he's only really, I think he's done one feature film before this called Tapped Out. And oddly enough, hey, if he can make an action film on this budget and make it work, I want to see more from Alan Unger, because you know what, there is clearly something going on upstairs, and he clearly has an eye for making it work. I'd like to see what he can do with it, with an actual like bigger budget, and and see how that comes about. Now, he brought over one of the actors from Tapped Out to play the young movie star, and that's Cody Hackman, who, much like Alan, hadn't done like anything previously. He Tapped Out was, I think, his first feature film, so this is his second feature film. But he did manage to get the casting for the main the veteran cop guy he's shadowing. He managed to get Dominic Purcell, which is awesome. If you don't know who Dominic Purcell is by name, he was in like a ton of stuff: Straw Dogs, Killer Elite, Blade Trinity. He was Drake. You probably recognize him from that. If you saw the John Doe television series, he was John Doe. He was in Mission Impossible 2. He's one of those guys who is almost a standard for action films, be it medium budget to higher budget. He's a guy who will definitely see himself put into that. But I think his big claim to fame was the television series Prison Break, where he played the Lincoln Burrows character. I think he was in the first season, he was the brother who was already in jail, I think. I you know what? It's been so I haven't really seen that television. I don't think I've seen the entire thing. Like I said, he's done big films, he's done small films. I mean, one of the last films he did, well, not last films, but semi-recently, was In the Name of the King 3. Yeah, In the Name of the King, right? It played at Toronto After Dark before. It's directed by Uwe Boll, our friend Uwe Boll. Yes, it's the third film in that, and Dominic Purcell plays one of the main characters there. But who else is in this film? Well, somebody who you would probably recognize if you saw him, but you may not recognize his name, is often the case with these type of actors. It's Stephen Lang. He's, again, one of those guys who often plays these bit parts or main parts, but he's a secondary actor or something like that. He was in The Asylum, Jarhead 2. Did Jarhead 2 go to theaters? I don't think it did it? No, probably not. He was, if you watch the television series Terra Nova, he was Commander Nathaniel Taylor. He was in the 2011 film Conan the Barbarian. He was in Public Enemies. It's just a ton of stuff. I'm trying to think of other stuff. He was, yes. The place you're going to know him from mostly is the evil military figure from Avatar. that was him, the guy who essentially, you know, was that he wanted to destroy all the peoples. That was him. But yeah, Tombstone and Gettysburg, like he's been in so much stuff. You may, if you know people who are big into genre, because he hasn't done a lot of like horror stuff, but he was Freddie Lowndes in the Michael Mann film Manhunter. Yes, the, you know, well, you know about it. I don't need to get into that. So yeah, he's in that. They also got Trish Stratus, the wrestler. Trish Stratus, she's in this, and you know she hasn't done a lot of film work. I think she did a film called Bounty Hunters. Maybe, I don't know, but she may have done 2 or 3 movies before this. Not a lot, but yeah, here she is. she's in this film. They also got, believe it or not, Danny Glover. Danny Glover is in this film, and honestly, it's amazing. Like Danny Glover he's that throwback actor in this film, because this film is essentially it's an homage to the, you know, a genre that he essentially put together. But if you don't know who Danny Glover is, The Color Purple, you know, Stephen King's The Color Purple. He was also in Shooter. He did Saw, but he's mostly known for Lethal Weapon, the Lethal Weapon series with Mel Gibson. You know, the buddy cop franchise that's essentially created its own like subgenre, right? Yeah, and I mean that's not it. We've also got Vinnie Jones, another classic character that you find in like all the action films. He just sort of shows up as one of those guys, just like all, you know, the other guys I've mentioned. Sometimes he's in big roles, sometimes he's in little roles. Yeah, he was Escape Plan. I'm trying to think of what he's done recently. Something that you guys would know. Smoking Aces 2. That one's, well, I don't know if I'd call it popular, but it was out there for genre fans. The Midnight Meat Train. He's that main guy from that thing. Hell Ride. The Condemned. Oddly enough, for a guy who's really into the action films, he's done quite a few horror films. He was in Euro Trip, if you saw that film. Tooth. And he started off with a great series of film. I think his first film was Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Come on, classic. Then he went on to Gone in 60 Seconds, the remake. Snatch and Swordfish. Like, those are his first 4 films, and honestly I think most people thought he was going to be a bigger star, you know, an action star at least or something, but I don't know, something must have held him back. But you may know him most you should know him from all those films I've mentioned so far. But he is one of those characters from X-Men: The Last Stand. In fact, he wasn't just any character. He was, what do you call him? Juggernaut. He was the guy who smashing through the walls, right? That's Vinnie Jones, man. He's, you know, when you see him, you know him right off the bat. He's one of those faces you just don't miss. They also got Saul Rubinek in this film. Like I said, they just have all these guys, and maybe they're not huge names, but they're like big enough that you recognize them. And the Saul Rubinek, if you watch things like Unforgiven, or I think his biggest thing, at least for me, was he is one of the main characters from the television series Warehouse 13. He plays, you know, the veteran guy in the warehouse. Yeah, it's one of those films where it's clearly low budget. And there's a lot of stuff that's, I mean, they have those little LED lights, and I you know what, I should have asked them about this, because they've stuck them everywhere in all the shots, and I didn't really get why, because they look so cheesy, and they weren't all even, and they're all just stick-on things, like I think it's 2-sided tape or something on the back, and just stick them on there, and then you go with that. and they were like everywhere, all over this weird building that they're shooting in. They stuck them everywhere, and it looked. Honestly, I don't think they need it, because I don't think it really added much light to the actual, to the scenes. And it, like I said, it looked really cheesy. Just the regular type of lights on the ceiling and such should have been enough, but I don't know. It's just little things like that where I was like, I noticed those right off the bat. A, because I kind of sell them at Canadian Tire, but that's beside the point. Then you got Trish Stratus, who, I love her. She's a nice girl, or woman, and she fits into the action genre, and she is she is that sexy badass woman that fits in here, but at the same time she's not very good. She's not a very good actor. Yeah, she was probably the weakest link out of all of them. So it was, I mean, for somebody like a name like Trish Stratus, you would almost think that they would feature her more, but I think it was clear they probably shot a lot more with her doing more stuff, but I think they realized that she's not quite on par with everybody else in this film. So yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of her on the cutting room floor. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that that's the case. But yeah, honestly, Gridlocked. I'm not going to say go out and buy Gridlocked. I don't think it's ever going to get a theatrical. So, even if it does, don't bother going to see it. Sorry, guys. I love you guys who made this film, but it's not really something that people should be spending their money to go see. But here's the thing: it is one of those rent or video on demand films. If you're into action films, do it. Like, if you see it come up, watch it. It's fun. It's fun. So much gunfights. Just explosions, everything you want in an action film, it's in there. Fist fights, and like I said, it's got so many actors that you're going to recognize. You're going to be watching this and be like, hey, oh, that guy, and short of the one main character, Cody Hackman, who you wouldn't have known. Yes, honestly, he plays the part, his role, he plays it perfectly. So he doesn't bring the film down whatsoever, which is good considering he's a main character. So yeah, I mean, most of the problems with Gridlocked come from the fact that there is a limited budget to work with, and therefore they had to make a story, that works within that limited budget. And like I said, most people, well, I mean, they said themselves, nobody thought they could actually do it. And yet here is Gridlocked, a film that actually works. And I'm guessing it's just due to the determination of everybody involved, and clearly the skill of the directing and the editing and the, most of the actors involved, that it actually comes off. And people obviously must have made some sacrifices here and there. I'm sure the effects budget, the guys who are getting the bullets and the guns and all that kind of stuff and making the explosions and all that kind of stuff work, they were trying. I don't know that they made much money themselves, but I'm sure this is one of those films where they just gave whatever they could to this production, and it probably went above and beyond where they normally would, and it worked. It just worked. So yeah, unfortunately, I've given Gridlocked so much time here, and it doesn't even count for my 31 Days of Horror. So yeah, I'm going to cut this video here. Gridlocked, honestly, if you're into action films, and you don't mind that they aren't, Fast and the Furious level productions, if it comes on whatever streaming device, whatever movie on demand type thing, it's worth a rental. It's worth checking it out. Click on that when you see it. Support, indie films, support Canadian films, and honestly, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised for when you realize just how little these guys had to work with to pull this off. So, until next video, guys, take care. Have a good one.